welcome to the third episode. The 7th season of the Western Pennsylvania Hockey League began on December 1st, 1903, and ran to March 8th, 1904. However, on January 17th, 1904, the Pittsburgh Keystones withdrew from the league after having played only 6 games, of which they lost 4. In third place was the Pittsburgh Athletic Club, had 4 wins, 10 losses. The Pittsburgh Bankers had 8 wins and 7 losses, with the Pittsburgh Victorious having 10 wins, 3 losses. This is the first season where no teams had any ties. However, the league stopped running games after this season, and the city of Pittsburgh formed the Pittsburgh Professionals to compete in the new International Professional Hockey League. On January 27, 1904, in Wilmington, Washington, Frank Gotch defeated the 7th American Heavyweight Champion, Tom Jenkins, in his second title match ever, making Frank Gotch the 8th American Heavyweight Champion. In the American League, the Chicago White Stockings shortened their name to Chicago White Sox. Due to blue laws in New York City, which are a set of laws restricting what can be done on Sundays, the New York Highlanders played their one Sunday game in Newark, New Jersey. This starts a long-standing and controversial tradition of New York teams playing games in New Jersey instead of in New York, while maintaining their New York City status. The 1904 American League season ran from April 14th to October 10th, 1904, with playing 145 games, 5 games more than the previous year. During this season, the St. Louis Browns and Detroit Tigers played 11 consecutive games against each other in September. This is actually a record. Cy Young of the Boston Americans pitched the 3rd perfect game in Major League history and the 1st in franchise history on May 5th against the Philadelphia Athletics. Cy Young also became the first member of the 400-win club, defeating the Philadelphia Athletics on September 20th. At the end of the season, the top 5 teams were the Philadelphia Athletics with 81 wins and 70 losses. The Cleveland Naps were in 4th place with 86 wins and 65 losses. In 3rd place was the Chicago White Sox with 89 wins and 65 losses. The New York Highlanders came in 2nd with 92 wins and 59 losses. And the Boston Americans landed in 1st place with 95 wins and 59 losses. The 1904 National League season ran from April 14th to October 9th, 1904, also playing 145 games. At the end of the season, the St. Louis Cardinals landed in 5th place with 75 wins, 79 losses. The Pittsburgh Pirates, who had been dominating the league, fell to 4th place with 87 wins and 66 losses. In 3rd place was the Cincinnati Reds with 88 wins and 65 losses. The Chicago Cubs found themselves in 2nd place with 93 wins and 60 losses. And in 1st place was the New York Giants with 106 wins and 47 losses. The league champions in 1904 were the Boston Americans of the American League and the New York Giants of the National League. With no formal arrangement in place between the two leagues, the New York Giants owner, John T. Brush, refused to let his team play against a team from what he considered an inferior league. The resulting criticism from fans and writers caused John Brush to reverse course during the off-season and lead the effort to formalize the World Series between the two leagues. This, of course, meant there was no World Series in 1904. However, John Brush drafted rules that both leagues adopted in mid-February of 1905. The 1904-05 International Professional Hockey League was the league's first season. The league consisted of teams from Canada and the United States. The teams were the Canadian Sault from Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, Canada, the Culminat Miners from Michigan, Houghton Portage Lakes from Houghton, Michigan, the Michigan Sioux Indians from Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan, and the Pittsburgh Professionals from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. The league played a total of 24 games, with the Canadian Sioux landing in 5th place with 6 wins, 17 losses, and 2 ties. In 4th place was the Pittsburgh Professionals with 8 wins, 15 losses, and 1 tie. In 3rd place was the Michigan Sioux Indians with 10 wins, 13 losses, and 1 tie. In 2nd place was the Houghton Portage Lakes with 15 wins, 7 losses, and 2 ties. Culminet Lorium Miners with 18 wins, 5 losses, and 1 tie to become the inaugural league's champions. On March 15, 1905, Jenkins became the first ever 3-time American heavyweight champion. He did this in New York City after defeating Frank Gotch for the title. George Hackenschmidt won a world championship tournament to become the first champion. Hackenschmidt won several tournaments in Paris, Hamburg, St. Petersburg, Elberfeld, and Berlin. He also won the European Greco-Roman Heavyweight Championship title from Tom Cannon on September 4, 1902. In Liverpool, England, George Hackenschmidt defeated American heavyweight champion Tom Jenkins on May 4, 1905 in New York City to become recognized as the first ever world heavyweight champion of wrestling. The 1905 American League season began on April 14th and ran till April 8th, 1905. The league played 154 games. In 4th place at the end of the season was the Boston Americans with 78 wins and 74 losses. In 3rd place was the Detroit Tigers with 79 wins and 74 losses. In 2nd place was the Chicago White Sox with 92 wins and 60 losses. And in 1st place, the Philadelphia Athletics with 92 wins and 56 losses. The 1905 National League season began on April 14th and ran to October 8th, 1905, also playing 154 games. On June 13th, Christy Mathewson of the New York Giants tosses his second career no-hitter in a 1-0 victory against the Chicago Cubs. In 4th place, the Philadelphia Phillies had 83 wins and 69 losses. In 3rd place was the Chicago Cubs with 92 wins and 61 losses. In 2nd place was the Pittsburgh Pirates with 96 wins and 57 losses. And in 1st place, the New York Giants with 105 wins and 48 losses. The 1905 World Series was the first series with the official rules, which had been laid out during the season, and it was now officially sanctioned by the National Baseball Commission. This year's World Series was between the National League's New York Giants and the American League's Philadelphia Athletics, with 4 of the 5 games being a shutout thrown by Giants pitcher Christy Mathewson. This became the first professional sports championship ever won by a New York City-based team. The 1905-1906 International Professional Hockey League season ran from December 11th to March 11th, where they played 24 games. At the end of the season, the Canadian Sows had a grand total of 1 win and 23 losses. Calumet Miners had 7 wins, 17 losses. The Pittsburgh Professionals had a total of 15 wins, 9 losses. The Michigan Sioux Indians had 18 wins and 6 losses, with the Houghton Portage Lakes having 19 wins and 5 losses to come in 1st place and become the league's 2nd ever champions. Frank Gotch recaptured the American Heavyweight Championship from Tom Jenkins on May 23, 1906, in Kansas City, Missouri. On May 17th, Ty Cobb hits a bunt to break up the no-hitter being thrown by Philadelphia Athletics pitcher Rube Waldel. The A's go on to defeat the Tigers 5-0. At the end of the season, the Philadelphia Athletics had 74 wins and 67 losses. The Cleveland Naps had 89 wins and 64 losses. The New York Highlanders had 90 wins and 61 losses, with the Chicago White Sox in 1st place with 93 wins and 58 losses. At the end of the 1906 National League season, the Philadelphia Phillies had 71 wins and 82 losses. The Pittsburgh Pirates were in 3rd place, 93 wins and 60 losses. The New York Giants were in 2nd place with 96 wins, 56 losses. And the Chicago Cubs had a total of 116 wins and 36 losses. The 1906 World Series was the 3rd edition of the World Series. It featured a crosstown matchup between the American League champions, the Chicago White Sox, and the National League champions, the Chicago Cubs. The White Sox, known as the Hitless Wonders, after finishing with the worst team batting average of .230 in the American League, beat the Cubs in 6 games in one of the greatest upsets in series history, as the Sox outpitched the Cubs in their first 2 wins and outhit them in their last 2. During the 1907 American League season, Ty Cobb of the Detroit Tigers scored 119 RBIs. Rube Waddle of the Philadelphia Athletics threw 232 strikeouts. At the end of the season, the Cleveland Naps had 85 wins and 67 losses. The Chicago White Sox had 87 wins and 64 losses. The Philadelphia Athletics had 88 wins, 57 losses, and the Detroit Tigers were in first place with 92 wins and 58 losses. Prior to the 1907 National League season, the Boston Beaneaters were renamed as the Boston Doves. Christy Mathewson of the New York Giants threw 178 strikeouts. At the end of the season, the New York Giants were in fourth place with 82 wins, 71 losses. The Philadelphia Athletics were in third place with 83 wins and 64 losses. The Pittsburgh Pirates had 91 wins and 63 losses. And in first place was the Chicago Cubs with 107 wins and 45 losses. The 1907 World Series was the fourth edition of the World Series. It featured the defending National League champions, the Chicago Cubs, against the American League champions, the Detroit Tigers. The series had been scheduled for 2 games in Chicago, with 3 games in Detroit and 1 game in Chicago. After the first game ended in a tie, the series did not move to Detroit until Game 4. The Tigers' young star Ty Cobb came into the series with the first of his many league batting championships. The Cubs allowed only 3 games in the 4 games they won, while stealing 18 bases. In the end, the Chicago Cubs won the series 4-0 for their first ever World Series championship.